Coaches, elevate your career with the AFCA Career Center. Designed exclusively for active members, this platform provides powerful tools to boost your job search, professional growth, and team building. Create a personalized career profile, explore job openings at all levels, connect directly with hiring organizations, and even post open positions to find top talent for your program. Log in to your AFCA portal today and discover the opportunities waiting for you. Welcome to this week's episode of Inside the Headset presented by CoachComm. This week, we sit down with UC Davis head coach Tim Plough. In this conversation, Coach Plough discusses his early start as a coordinator, the importance of surrounding yourself with good people, and how he made the most out of difficult situations. But first, a word from CoachComm.
Deuce left, check with me. If they're in quarters match, we're going to Pittsburgh or Ohio.
They're in zero.
Let's go Hippo, Seattle, wide choice. If we call the protection right, it's 6.
When a play call is the difference between winning and losing, your headset choice could be your most important decision. When the call counts, CoachComm is the only choice for clear, dependable communication. Visit CoachComm.com for more info.
We got it, guys. Good job.
Now, let's get inside the headset with Coach Plough. Coach, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good, man. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. I appreciate you taking a quick break in the car to chat with us, man. I know it's a busy time being a head ball coach, and we appreciate you taking a little bit of it and spending it with us.
Well, like I told you before, man, I am indebted to you and AFCA. I still think being a part of the 35 under 35 was one of the best experiences I've had. Owe that a lot to you. So anytime I can help and be a part of this, I'm fired up.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that, man. Well, let's go ahead and dive in so I don't got to keep you waiting too long, man. But when did you know you want to be a part of this great profession?
It was really late for me. I mean, I my parents are teachers, so I felt like education was something I was going to be in some capacity. My playing career got cut short because of injury. And so my last year playing, I went from being the starting quarterback, and then halfway through the year, I had kind of a career-ending injury and was just kind of helping out coach a little bit. And our head coach at the time, Bob Biggs, told me that, I could get basically another degree and they could keep me on scholarship as a student assistant for the rest of the year. Was kind of taking advantage of that to get another degree at Davis. But while I was doing that, just being able to help and see, like, you teach something and then watch it come to fruition. Yeah. That became a real addicting feeling for me. Like, man, if I help this guy out and then I watch him do what I talked about and then see him have success, the joy it brings him. I knew that was kind of a feeling that I wanted to have more and more. And I thought about it. Really, coaching is the ultimate form of teaching, because your grades are seen by the public, whether or not you're teaching your students well. And so that just kind of became an obsessive thing for me. And so I jumped into it after that.
Yeah, you obviously that's not a very uncommon story for a guy to get hurt and have the opportunity to student coach. Sometimes to what degree is kind of where it starts to vary a little bit. How involved the coaches let you get? Did they let you get pretty involved pretty quick, or were you kind of still a player on the team and just kind of helped out when you could?
Yeah, I tried to just stay quiet and speak when spoken to, kind of thing. But I was really lucky. I mean, the coaches I was around at Davis. Davis has a long history of developing coaches, right. From Chris Peterson and Mike Bellotti and Dan Hawkins and Nate Hackett and all these guys. And they saw something in me. And so that pretty quickly they were asking my opinion on things and letting me be a part of the discussions. And so it felt early on like I was still doing the grunt work. I was still doing the GA type things. Yeah. But luckily enough, I had a voice and I had an opinion that they were listening to. And then quickly they gave me more and more responsibility at a young age, which a lot of guys don't get. So that I was very thankful for that.
Well, I definitely don't want to skip too fast in this whole story here, but obviously go just from student assistant to 08 to quarterbacks coach in 09, and in 2010 you're the OC. I mean, it doesn't get faster than that. As a matter of fact, I think you were the youngest OC in the country at that time at 24, 25 years old, something like that, depending on when your birthday was. And so, I think, I've said this on the podcast before from my point of view. I remember being a young coach in a room. I was a young FBS coach, and I struggled at times of like, do I say something now? Like, I got an opinion. Do I say something or do I stay quiet until spoken to? Like, am I past that stage yet? As a 22-year-old, I couldn't even imagine, 23-year-old, I couldn't even imagine. At what point in time did you become confident in your voice and your, hey, this shouldn't be like this, or here's my opinion, I disagree with your head coach, not in a combative way, but when did you feel comfortable just kind of speaking up and stating your opinion?
I think that it doesn't really matter how old you are. What matters is the knowledge and the time you've put into it. And so if I did have something I wanted to voice my opinion on, the thing I was going to make sure I had was I had studied it, I had the resources behind it, so that I wasn't just speaking off the cuff. Like, I had real reasons behind what I was talking about. And I was always in love with the game. And so I dove into the schematics of it. And so I wasn't going to come to the table with an opinion if I didn't have the backing behind the work that I put in to study it and make sure it made sense. And that also helped me coach guys that I had played with a couple of years prior, because they knew from a knowledge standpoint, I wasn't just speaking off the cuff. Like, I had real reasons for why I was saying what I was saying, because I thought it was going to help us win. I thought it was going to help them be a better player. And I've always kind of stuck by that. Like, I'm going to put the time in to make sure something makes sense. I'm not just going to throw it out there because I saw it on TV once.
Right.
I'm going to make sure I have a real reason and it's thought out and it makes sense and it fits. And so I've always kind of operated that way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like you said, I even from my point of view, probably putting too much on how old you are, not just having a solid answer or a solid, way of presenting whatever the information is. Now, you kind of brought up just playing with some of those guys not that long ago. I mean, I'm sure as you're a quarterbacks coach, probably the juniors, sophomores, and seniors had at least been a teammate of yours from a certain standpoint. I've been asking this thing. I always ask this to anybody that gets put in that position, just because I think, however we can help educate young coaches as they get put in that position, every single year. How you manage that? How did you let them know, hey man, this is not your boy we hung out with and on Friday nights, now I'm a coach. You gotta kind of treat me with that type of respect. How did you manage that?
I think it's important for you as the coach, you have to make the transition before they do, right? Like, you have to decide that I'm going to come to work, I'm going to be professional, I'm going to look the part, right? I'm going to show up every day, and I'm going to treat them with respect, but I'm going to run the room in a way that they can see already that, like, I'm a coach. I'm not their homie. And you can still have great relationships with players, but I tell coaches all the time, like, you're not there to be their friend. You're not there to be their buddy.
Yeah.
You're there to be their coach. You're there to be their mentor. And so I knew that, like, I'm going to have to make that transition and make it apparent to them that I do really care about what I'm doing and I've put a lot of time into it. And I have to make the choice. I'm not going to hang out with you on Fridays. I'm not going to hang out with you after practice. I'm not going to roll into the meeting and joke about stuff that we used to talk about 4 years ago. Like, I'm coming in there to be your coach, and I'm going to have those conversations with you, and I'm going to create that relationship so that they don't feel the awkwardness of them having to decide, is this guy still my friend or not? I'm going to create that situation so they understand, no, I'm your coach now. I'm your mentor now. I'm here to help you. And you can still do that and have a good relationship with your guys.
That's right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, Coach. Now, just kind of lumping that first stint there, UC Davis, after being a player, and kind of a one group there. Very quickly, you become an offensive coordinator, as I mentioned. What it's easy to ask you the question. I know it's probably hard to answer from the head coach's point of view. It's easy to say, hey man, what did you do to prepare to be an OC? But I guess my question is, how does a head coach, with you being able to sit in those shoes now as a head coach, how can you look at a guy with not very much experience as a offensive assistant coach and feel confident at the Division I FCS level in you being an OC? What did you do to help him feel comfortable in that decision?
I think the main thing that and I've talked to my old head coach about that decision back in the day and how crazy looking back it was.
Right.
But in reality, I think what he saw was that I was really passionate about the game. I had a really, really deep knowledge of the offense because he had run the offense for years.
Okay.
And so all the stuff that I knew was what he taught me. And so now I was being able to communicate that in a way that he felt like was equal or even superior to what they were getting. And so it really had nothing to do with how old I was. He just felt like this guy is really prepared. He works really hard. He understands the schematics. He knows how to motivate, knows how to put plans together, knows how to call plays because I was standing next to him for 10 years watching him do it, right? And so I think, I remember when they told me, I was shocked. To be honest, I had a decision to make between, hey, go be a GA at a really big FBS school, and go get trained in that regard and keep learning, or jump into this thing early on at a young age. And I felt like the best way to learn at that point was to do it, and they were giving me kind of the rope and the freedom to go try it and make mistakes and learn. And it's a unbelievable opportunity that a lot of guys don't get. But my main thought was, I'm just going to out-prepare, outwork, outthink, just like as a player. I'm just going to put in the time, put in the work to make sure I'm prepared to be successful. And luckily, I had a great understanding of what we were doing offensively. So it wasn't like I was having to convince them on a system. I was just running the same stuff that we had already been running there for years and years and years. And I would say that was the only thing that maybe held me back from growth is I didn't really go outside of that and come up with new ideas or new things because I was just doing what we had done there for a long time. And so I don't think I really grew as an offensive mind until I left Davis the first time, because that was the first time I got to really try whatever I wanted to try instead of just running whatever we had run there for a long time,
Absolutely. And so in 13, you go to Northern Arizona. What kind of led to, you're obviously an FCS offensive coordinator at this point in time. What led to you, making that decision to depart ways?
Our head coach retired. Okay. And, whenever there's a head coaching change, new head coach is going to come in. He's going to have his own guys, his own thoughts of things. New head coach came in. Looking back, rightfully so, he was like, I don't know how this 27-year-old guy, I don't know why he's got all this responsibility. It doesn't make sense, So, but I'd had some success at Davis, NAU. I had known Brian Lindgren, who was the offensive coordinator there before, who's now the offensive coordinator at Michigan State. Yeah. He had put in a good word for me. And being able to be in the Big Sky still and play a lot of the same teams and be close enough to, I was just getting married that year at the time, not making my wife move across the country, going to Arizona is not a huge move for us. Felt like the right fit. And that was really the first place where the head coach was like, hey man, I just want to score points however you want to do it. You kind of come up with how you want to do it. And that made me dive in and look at the things we had done in the past at Davis, maybe some things I had been interested in doing in the future, and develop really the beginning stages of what we do now was really back in those NAU days in the 2013 to 2016 timeframe. Yeah. Was when I really dove into building, my own offense and not necessarily running someone else's offense,
Yeah. And so when it was all said and done, because obviously you kind of get back into the role of offensive coordinator at NAU, was it a mix or did you totally depart kind of those years at UC Davis, or or did you hold some of those parts in?
I think the things that I held on to at Davis were the foundational things about the pass game, the quarterback play, how to train the quarterback, how to run an NFL pro style pass game. But what I really dove into at the time was, Baylor and Oregon and these teams that were going no huddle and using RPOs and running the quarterback and And I felt like, man, if I can merge this drop back NFL pass game, add the tempo, and add the spread college run aspects of the RPOs and the quarterback run and the perimeter game and those kind of things, we could create something that's pretty unique.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of success. I thought that the stress that we could put on defenses where our pass game was very intricate, the quarterback was really well trained, and we were still creating those numbers problems that still happen today with the run game in the spread world. I thought that could be really successful, and luckily we had success there, merging kind of those two worlds together, and that's really been the foundation of what we've done for a long time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, obviously, you have the stint in Northern Arizona, which is good for you. You've been at UC Davis at that point in time for over a decade. Just kind of getting a change of scenery, getting to grow a little bit yourself. Then you get the opportunity to kind of go back to UC Davis. Once again, what led to that? And then, what was it like to kind of return as a new guy, almost as a recreate a version of yourself?
That was probably, out of all the decisions I made in coaching, that one probably made the least amount of sense in regards to, like, on paper when people look at it, right? Because I'm basically making a lateral move from offensive coordinator to offensive coordinator in the same conference. In the tangible things, the head coach was at the end of his contract. They weren't going to commit long term to our staff. I wasn't sure if, even if we had success offensively, if there was a long term thing at NAU. Dan Hawkins had gotten the head coach at Davis. He was a Davis guy. And him and I had talked on the phone. We had the number one offense in the country coming back at NAU. Davis hadn't won a conference game, I think, in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
It didn't make a lot of sense. But what I was looking at was, okay, I need to be around great coaches. I need to be around people that are going to make me better. And it was the Davis coaching tree. Okay, Dan Hawkins, this guy's had a lot of success at Boise. He's won championships. He's also got a great connection to great coaches like Chris Peterson and Mike Bellotti, and he can get me linked up with those guys.
Right.
And I can get myself part of a tree again. And I wanted to learn. As much as I had success in areas, I still felt like I wanted to learn and get better. And having that tie to your school and to your alma mater and wanting them to be successful, it felt like a great opportunity to help build Davis from a success standpoint, but also build myself as a coach, to surround myself with good people. And I still think at the end of the day, for young coaches, when you're deciding about jobs, which you're going to find out later on in my past, it led to some bad situations, was it's really more about the people you're around. It's not about how much money you make or the level that you're coaching at or the program you're coaching at. It's more about who you're around. Are the people around you, are they like-minded with you?
Yeah.
And are they going to support you and put you in positions to grow and be successful? And so as weird as that decision looked, it was a great decision because I got to be around Dan Hawkins. He put me in a great position to be successful. He kind of turned me loose, but he also linked me up with guys like Chris Peterson, Mike Bellotti, other guys in that tree that helped me learn and grow and become better. And I thought that was something I've tried to remember and hold on to throughout my career. Surround yourself with good people and good things can happen.
Absolutely, Coach. I'm you don't even know, and this is not lip service. I'm so happy you said that. And honestly, I had the opportunity to speak at some event, and it was a panel, and they were asking for some advice, and that's literally the advice I gave. It was, man, you don't have to take a job because it's going to pay you a little extra money or because the logo looks nicer, man. Just, you want to be at a place where you can go to work and enjoy who you're around. It can create further opportunities for you. And I kind of said it, and I was waiting for like everybody to stand up and give me a round of applause, and everybody's kind of just looking at me like, if this job calls, I'm going to take it. And I was like, it might not make sense right now, but one day it will, I promise you. You get one of those jobs where experience is not great, it'll make a lot more sense. So, that's something I'm very passionate about, man, and I appreciate you sharing that. So obviously you guys are, you're there now. You got this legendary coach as the head ball coach. You're back, kind of with this new version of yourself from an offensive standpoint, and you have another 3-year stint there. What happened over those 3 years offensively? What were you kind of able to accomplish?
Yeah, we went from, I know my first year there, we were ranked, before I got there, I think they were ranked 100th in the country in offense. And our first year there, we kind of put in this new system that we had created at NAU. We went from 100th to 3rd in offense. And that was the first time where I was like, man, we might be onto something. Like, this is something different. It's unique. We're kind of ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And so for those 3 years, we actually we had more passing yards than any college football team at any level in those 3 years, scoring a lot of points, going to the playoffs, having a lot of success. To do that at the alma mater was great, and to get that place going. Obviously, at that time, too, is when I first linked up with you and got into the 35 under 35 thing and got to be around some great young coaches and learn. And that's when things started really hitting. Like, every year you're kind of getting job opportunities at, quote unquote, bigger schools that are going to pay you a lot of money. And I was kind of batting those jobs away because I didn't know the people. I wasn't sure about who I was going to be around. And I end up finally taking the offensive coordinator job at Boise State. And, fast forward to it, ends up being not a great fit for me. End up getting fired in a couple of years at Boise State in the middle of the season. And I take a lot of blame for that not going well. But I still go back to, I think the biggest issue was who you surround yourself with and who's empowering you to be the best version of you.
Yeah.
And does it really fit? And I think I took the job because it was Boise. Yeah. I took the job because of all the success I'd seen at Boise. Every offensive coordinator that went to Boise ended up going to some big school and being a head coach or being at a power school, being an offensive coordinator. It seemed like the best statistical step for your career, but in reality, didn't have a relationship with the head coach ahead of time. And you get in there and you realize, man, there's some ideological things that aren't lined up, and it's no one's fault other than it's just not a good fit. And so I take blame for, not really sticking to my guns and the things I believe in. Now you're kind of running an offense that doesn't really resemble anything you've really run before in the past. Team's not winning as much as a team like Boise should.
Yeah.
And when that happens, people are going to lose their jobs. And so it was a great lesson for me on going back to, man, everything I'd thought before was right. It's about who you surround yourself with. Are they going to allow you to create an environment for you to be the best version of you? And that was an example of that not happening.
Yeah.
And as hard as those really 2 years felt like 20 years. I mean, it was such a tough situation. Stress and just a lot of stuff going on. But, man, I wouldn't trade those 2 years for anything because it really centered me on what was important. And if I want to be successful, I have to do it this way for me.
Yeah.
And it helped me, and I thought that lesson is something that is so valuable that as painful as that time was, as difficult as it was, it's really shaped me. And I know it's going to help me make better decisions, going forward with my career.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's so awesome that you were willing to kind of share that, because I think so much on the podcast, obviously we have people on there having some type of success and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes it's a part of either shaping you, it's some type of part of molding you into who you are. And I had a job like that, and it was difficult. And so the question I asked, and we'll kind of move on to kind of returning back to California, is, during those difficult times as a coach, because you're up there so much, and I mean, that's your family, essentially, those guys in that office that you're with all the time. Like, where did you kind of lean on in those times? And, who did you talk it out with? I know me and you had some discussions about it very, very lightly. I know you weren't leaning on me, but, where do you kind of go whenever you're going through some of that stuff?
It's funny, I know you had Spencer Danielson on recently. Mm-hmm. And he's the head coach now at Boise. Spencer was the defensive coordinator there at Boise at the time. So I was the offensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator. Stacy Collins was the special teams coordinator. And man, we really supported each other. I mean, we were all kind of in it there. It was a tough spot, and we all had our tough days. We all had our bad times. But man, I really saw how a staff can really help guys get through that, you know, and whether it's phone calls or going over to each other's house and, you know, just talking through what we're all going through, what our families are going through, and because your kids are feeling it, your wife's feeling it, you know, and you can see the writing on the wall. You can feel it coming, like something bad's going to happen, you know. And when you're in that, I thought the thing that I tried to do is I tried to really pour into the players because they can feel it too, and you know, tell them I love them. I'm going to be there for them. I'm still going to mentor these guys. I'm still going to coach them. I'm still going to give them everything I have, knowing that it might not be the best situation. And I remember the day I got fired, we lost to UTEP, real embarrassing game on national television. You know, Boise State, those are games they don't lose. We all know we're driving home. Someone's probably going to get the axe for this game. I got let go the next day. I remember the staff, you know, every single guy on the staff coming in and telling me they love me and that they had my back and they're going to support me. And I think we had 70 plus players come to my house that day, just drive over on their own to say what's up, make sure I was okay, talk to my wife, talk to me. Man, it was an emotional time, but I remember my wife telling me, like, hey, even though you feel like you failed, even though you feel like you did a bad job on the field, maybe you did some good things too. If all these players feel that strongly about you, if these coaches feel that strongly about you, maybe you didn't make the impact you wanted to on the field, but you still made an impact. And, you know, to see Spencer take that program over and to have the success he's having, man, that's so cool. I mean, that's just a great thing to see, you know, the guy that you were in the trenches with to have success now and get that going. And Khalil Shakir, who plays for the Bills, you know, he was a receiver for me on that team. And man, he still texts me when we won a game at Davis last year. He sent me a text, "Coach, that's great. I love you." You know, so it's the little things like that looking back, everyone can support each other in that spot. And so I grew the mustache out, tried to become Tim Lasso and just be Mr. Positive and like tell the players, "Hey man, we're going to get through this." And so as tough of a situation as it was, like I said, I learned a lot about myself as a coach, all the mistakes I made so many mistakes but I learned from it. And, but I still got to see how important it is to have good relationships with your players and your staff. And if you're a good guy and you do things the right way, you know, I still believe good things happen to good people. And so in my darkest time, it was the Dirk Cutters and Spencer Danielsons and Chris Petersons and those guys that immediately put their arm around me. "Hey man, you're going to be all right. You're going to land on your feet." And it add that extra motivation to do things better the next time, you know?
Yeah, man. You know what's really awesome about that is I kind of had an epiphany as you were talking right there. Is for the people that didn't know they were going to get into the profession until some type of experience like yourself. You know, you had the student assistant experience, and you were like, man, it's pretty cool to see, pour into somebody and see things come to fruition for them. And it's almost like you get that reminder throughout your career. And that was an opportunity for you. That was your base reason for getting into the profession. You know, obviously the wins and all that kind of stuff is cool. And obviously you've had a ton of success, but to have those guys show up at your house, I can only imagine how much that meant. And probably just reminded you what this whole thing really is about, man. So that's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that. Now, after that, you kind of get fired in the middle of the season. Obviously, nobody wants to get fired at all, yet alone middle of the season, because I know that kind of can stretch out. You're sitting there on the couch kind of wondering what's going on next. How did that off time and then rolling into the off season lead into your next opportunity?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was, that was the weirdest part was, well, now I'm a super dad. Now I'm driving the kids to school, picking them up from school and hanging out at the house, and don't feel like I'm doing anything. The crazier thing that I tell guys all the time is, Dirk Cutter was kind of my guy on that staff, and what a legendary coach. He takes over the offense. Boise goes on this great run. They win a bunch of games, win the conference. And I'm thinking, man, I must really stink. I mean, I got fired. As soon as I got fired, they start winning all these games. and you're sitting there kind of watching, going through that. And then I kind of got to the point where I was like, hey, I don't really care where I go. I'm back at who I work with and who I'm around.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really focused on. I mean, I had such a great opportunity that popped up about halfway through the year. Justin Wilcox at Cal. I think Justin Wilcox at Cal, Jonathan Smith at Oregon State at the time. These guys called me right away and they were like, hey, man, get your butt off the couch. Come on out here. Spend a week with us. Help us game plan. Just sit in.
Yeah.
Be around it. Don't sit there and be mopey and don't be down. Like, you're a good coach, man. Like, we want to help. And
right.
So I spent a week at Oregon State with Jonathan Smith and those guys. And then I spent basically a month at Cal with Justin Wilcox and helping them with their offense and just kind of being a fly on the wall. And I ended up taking trips out to TCU, taking trips out to Tennessee. I basically said, man, I'm not going to sit on my butt. I'm going to travel around here. I don't get to do this during the season. Go watch other people and watch how they coach, watch how they game plan. I'm going to make myself better. And then when the season got over, I got a couple opportunities, but I ended up going to Cal with Justin Wilcox because I got to be around him for a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, I saw how he operated, saw how he ran the program, and I was like, man, I want to be around that guy. I want to be around good people, someone that thinks the same way I think. I don't care what position I coach. Man, if there's a job, I'm all in. And so I got to spend the year at Cal with Justin and coach the tight ends and be involved in the offensive staff and ended up making a bowl game and having a really good year there and really found my love again for the whole thing. Just being around good people, coaching great kids, and the wins are what they are. And we, won some games, made a bowl game. That was cool. But just like coaching ball, scheming it up, game plan, and loving every minute of it, being around good people. And man, I'm so indebted to Justin Wilcox. I tell people all the time, when you're part of these coaching trees, it's like, oh, he's a Nick Saban guy or he's a Sarkisian guy. I always tell people, I was like, man, I'm a Justin Wilcox guy. Like, if you're going to latch me on to anybody, latch me on to him. I want to try to run my program the way Justin Wilcox runs his. And I'm so indebted to him because when you get fired in the middle of the season and your offense stinks and you see your name go on that scroll on ESPN,
right,
just got fired.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are interested in hiring you, and so, man, for him to stick his neck out for me and do that, and then for us to have success, that got me kind of back in the swing of things, and I'm always indebted to that.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's cool that people are kind of willing to open up the doors for you and call you and encourage you to come on out, and that you were able to kind of do that. Like you said, this is not something that you normally ever get to do in a profession. It's just in the middle of the season, watch somebody live and in action and, sit in some rooms that you just never sat in before and watch them operate in real time, not talking about it at an AFCA convention or something like that. But, man, that's cool. I tell you what, man, this profession is special. The people in it, can be so special. And that's awesome to hear that, Coach Wilcox can kind of open up the doors for you and end up being a home for a little bit, but not for very long. For 1 year you're there at Cal, and then 24 pops up, and obviously get a super special opportunity to kind of return to your alma mater as the head ball coach. How does that go down? How does, a little more than a year, you're, like you said, kind of slumping around on the couch a little bit, trying to figure out, if what's going on, and next thing you know, you're getting an opportunity to be the head ball coach at your alma mater. What was the situation?
So, Cal season's going on, and we're having success. And now, it's funny how the profession works. But I go from the guy that nobody wanted to talk to because I got fired in the middle of the season to, oh, he is a good coach. He does know what he's doing. Right. And so now I'm getting, offensive coordinator jobs at the power level. I'm talking to Big Ten schools about being the offensive coordinator. I could have been the offensive coordinator at Cal with Justin and talking to the old Pac-12. There's a lot of opportunities popping up to be the offensive coordinator, get paid $1 million. And the ego in me really wanted to do that. I was like, man, I want to go show people. I want to go be an offensive coordinator. I want to go kick some butt and show people that Boise thing isn't me. And the Davis opportunity pops up to be a head coach. And And it was really my wife and I sitting down and go, hey, don't forget what we talked about.
Mm.
You know, it's about people. It's about who you surround yourself with. And, you know, I started to think about, man, I really want to create the environment.
Yeah.
I don't want to be someone that has to react to whatever the environment is that's created around me, because I've seen what happens when the environment doesn't fit. And so going maybe to a random place and making a lot of money, that may not be the best move because maybe that environment doesn't fit me.
Right.
And I thought, man, if I can create my own environment, take the lessons I've learned from the Dan Hawkins and the Bob Biggs and the Justin Wilcoxes and the Chris Petersons and all these guys, maybe I can build my own environment and I can make those decisions and create a place for the coaches that they really love working at. And that to me became more valuable than the money, you know? And so, you know, I definitely could have made a lot more money being an offensive coordinator at a Power 4 school. But to me, it was, hey, let's go create our own environment. Let's make a special place, and let's control how these guys are finding joy every single day, the staff, the players, the administration, everyone. And to me, that felt like a better fit for me at that time. And big financial risk, obviously. But it was funny when I reached out to the people I cared about. I'm like, hey, what do you guys, am I crazy for taking this job and turning down this money? Or like, what do you think? And all of them were like, no, you're not crazy.
Right.
Like, go do that thing, man. Go build your own thing. And to me, that just felt like the right fit. And so, yeah, we jumped in and said, you know what, let's do it. And I think people were shocked, but for me, it was, I want to create the environment. I want to control that part of it. And I want to have the freedom to create offensively, defensively, special teams, and see how that goes, you know? And so I ended up talking to the AD at Davis. Obviously, I had a lot of connections there from my time coaching there before. They really wanted me to do it. They were really supportive. They had a plan for putting together a situation where we could win possibly and have a chance to win a national championship. And that just felt like the right time, right place. And also, I think the other important part is, man, I got 3 little boys. I got a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old. And, man, there were times in the last 5, 6, 7 years where I never saw those guys.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't see them for weeks. You know, I was only home for, I think, 60 days before midnight in a 2-year period. You know, my wife had it written down. And I'm like, man, I'm not seeing these kids' little league games. I'm not seeing them grow up. I want to create an environment where, again, I can control that. You know, I can go to the little league games. I can go to the flag football games. I can go to the basketball games. I can create an environment where the coaches feel comfortable bringing their kids to work.
Yeah. Wives
feel comfortable coming around. And if I have a chance to be a dad and a husband, and I can coach football and try to win some games and build my own thing, again, that was just a very attractive situation. And so my wife and I were like, it might seem crazy, where obviously the paychecks aren't going to look as good at the start of the month, but man, let's go do it. And you know what? At the end of the day, money is money. We'll make enough anyways. And let's go dive in and take a run at it. And that's what led us to taking the job.
Yeah. And you're off to a hot start with it. You know, creating your own environment, 11-3 this 2024 season, which led you to the whole reason why I called you here. You know, this past season you were voted as the FCS Region 5 2024 AFCA Regional Coach of the Year. Sorry, that's a mouthful there. That is voted on by your peers. What did that mean to you for the people that it's kind of watch you and watch that ticker, like you said, kind of go through the bottom of the screen and, you know, remember you playing, you know, as a player there at UC Davis, to come be the head coach and in the first year have some very, very quick success and kind of get that thing going. What does that mean to you to be voted on by your peers?
Yeah, that was probably the biggest moment for me personally as a coach. You know, I'm such a big believer in AFCA, you know, the connections I've made with you and the people. And I think back to being 22 years old, going to your first convention and trying to meet guys and sit in on those big halls and listening to those great coaches talk. And you're thinking, man, your peers think highly enough of you that they want to make you, you know, an award like that. It was extremely meaningful, and it made you feel justified, like you made the best choice for you and your family. Sidebar was, you know, I think Spencer was the coach of the year in the same region for FBS.
Yeah, he was.
You know, so we text each other right away, like, man, isn't this crazy?
Right.
You know, 2 years ago we were, you know, trying to keep each other afloat. Now we're both coach of the year, and
yeah.
So I just thought that was a really cool moment, extremely meaningful for me, and motivating. Like, man, you know, let's see how good we can be. Let's be even better this next year. Not so much the wins and losses, but if your peers think you're doing a good job, then you must be doing something right. Let's build on that. Let's keep doing it better and better and better, and keep being involved in something like that. It was extremely meaningful, and probably one of the more meaningful moments for coaching for me.
Amen. Well, Coach, you know how much I appreciate you. And honestly, you know, as I said at the end of the podcast, we appreciate what you're doing in the profession, but I definitely appreciate what you're doing and creating an environment like that for coaches. I think that's, you know, sometimes one of the things that's kind of slept on in some of our conversations is, you know, there's no reason for at any point in time for you not to be seeing your children in this profession. I mean, I get it. And I know how tough it is to be competitive and keeping a job and all that kind of stuff, but there's proof right here that you can do both. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you kind of setting the tone on that deal, and you know, looking forward to hopefully seeing you in Charlotte. I don't know if you these days so busy now you can make it over that way, but I hope I can see you in Charlotte this upcoming year.
Well, I'll say this, man. I've always appreciated you and the relationship we've built. Like I said, that 35 under 35 for the guys listening. If you have a chance to be a part of that, that was a life-changing event for me, and I'm still connected to all those guys. The guys I met that year, I'm still connected to all those guys on a pretty deep level, guys that I really respect. And I just I didn't get a chance to go to the convention this year, and immediately I regretted it.
Oh, yeah.
Won't happen ever again. I was just not being around that, not being able to see those guys and be a part of it. But thankful for you. Man, I'd love to hop on this podcast whenever you want. Hopefully we can talk some football next time and dive into some fun stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah, for sure.
But just appreciate you, man. Appreciate all you do. Love AFCA, and thankful for all of it.
All right, Coach. Well, I'll let you get back to it, man, and look forward to seeing you soon, okay?
Appreciate you, Mario. Have a good one, dude.
All right.
CoachComm has been delivering tough headsets for tough teams for more than 31 years. It's why 97% of FBS teams and thousands of high schools across the country rely on CoachComm. Get the best for your team. Visit CoachComm.com for more info.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm. If you'd like to learn more about this week's episode, head over to AFCA.com. There, you can access every episode and find corresponding show notes. Remember, you can catch every episode of Inside the Headset presented by CoachComm on wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, we'd love for you to take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Your feedback helps us improve and grow. Keep up with the latest news by following us on social media. Connect with us at Inside the Headset, and remember to tag us when you share your favorite episodes. For more updates on all things AFCA, be sure to follow the @WeAreAFCA social media accounts. If you're not a part of the AFCA community yet, visit AFCA.com to join thousands of NFL, college, and high school coaches nationwide and across the globe. Elevate your coaching game with an AFCA membership. You'll gain exclusive access to the annual AFCA convention, magazine, digital library, and AFCA Insider email. Stay up to date with the latest stories and news on the AFCA website. More than just a convention, the AFCA offers continuous education, guidance, networking, and more. Celebrate the past and shape the future with the AFCA. It's about fostering exceptional coaches who create outstanding teams and even better individuals. Invest in your skills and make a lasting impact today by engaging with the AFCA. Your journey starts here.